Pennsylvania, for Ironman Robert.
Welcome to the HWMF podcast. I'm your host, Seth Feroce, here with my heterosexual life mate, Mr. Bobby Doutrin.
Good morning.
Ready?
I think so. I look good.
You look pretty good. My eyes, at least.
Been a while.
Yeah.
You guys have been bitching. Haven't been on the fucking YouTubes.
Well,
Been a little busy.
a little busy. So let's just backtrack and tell us, what training was like before we even left for Florida. Start from there.
Sure. So, a lot of you have been asking where the training videos have been, and kind of like what occurred last year for Ironman prep was it's very difficult to film some of these training sessions, and not even like the fact of like holding a camera or like getting the actual content isn't difficult. It's more so me being affected by like the cameras in my face and trying to like just build like solid content for you guys to be entertained, and it was affecting my workouts. My head was not in my workout, and with this style of training and the sport that I'm in, it is all a mental game. So that last video was the last one because we really dove in to some hardcore training for the last, I think, 10 weeks of my prep, and we stopped filming. I did little things on Instagram to kind of fill you in where I was at week by week, but training videos stopped. I hope now that Kim's pretty good with a camera and she knows when like it's fucking with me and when it's like it's okay. So maybe during this next prep for next year, we'll get a little bit more content, at least off-season content, and then maybe just do more Q&A things. You guys always have questions about equipment and apparel that I wear and things I use to race. So maybe that's something we can work towards for next year. That being said, my training was amazing the last 10 weeks leading up to Ironman Florida. Just really, really good work. Like all my key workouts, I was hitting them to a T weekly. Even after the volume really increased, we were building strength and power up until the very last few weeks. And there was very few workouts that I actually missed. And if I did miss a workout, it was either a swim or like a weight training or mobility work. I never missed like a key running, bike. I never missed any of those workouts during this prep. So I'm really proud of that too, because I look at it as if I put everything I got into every minute of training, there's nothing more I could have done in preparation for that race. So I'm pretty pumped with how the last 10 weeks really panned out.
And I think when you mentioned the videos stopped because of all the training, I think the big portion of it is, if you want to touch on that, is the emotional side of the training leading up to about 1 to 2 weeks out of Ironman.
Yeah, so emotions got really high 2 to 3 weeks out, which I expected. They were last year as well, but I think I had a lot more pressure on myself, like internally, to really do something special for this race. Last year my goal was to finish. That was finish at all costs. That could have been 10, 12, 14, or 17 hours. I didn't care. I just wanted to cross that line, and that's what we did. Going into this year, we had very specific pacing in mind. We worked on that for months, and for the most part, we had it all dialed in and ready to go. But to hold these certain paces and push certain powers on the bike meant tapping into emotions that are very, very uncomfortable. You might be happy one minute, sad the next minute, angry, and everything in between. And you're also trying to balance these feelings during training with life outside of it. Like me and Kim's relationship, trying to still stay very productive at work and in tune with everything that's going on with my businesses. So emotions were very, very high. I cried a lot. I cried every day. I cried every day for a few weeks, and there was one workout that I can't say I was unhappy with, but that absolutely broke me. And I think that's the idea of prepping for these types of races, is to find your threshold, to push through that threshold, but then also find what is going to completely break me. And 2 weeks out was my last long ride on a Saturday. I think it was around 4.5 hours, and it completely broke me. I was getting off the bike in between intervals. I was consuming more than I needed to from hydration and nutrition standpoint because I kept getting behind. And it physically and mentally broke me. I couldn't get back into it mentally, which my mind usually pulls me through these really hard workouts. And it's the last thing you kind of want to occur 2 weeks out, because all that doubt sets in. But it was part of the plan. It was supposed to happen that way. And that's when, that was the last big workout before I tapered into race day, which tapering means you're essentially giving your body a 1 to 2 week period where it can actually recover. You just go through months and months of overtraining essentially to prepare your body for this onslaught. So then that taper is, the idea is to stay nice and loose, make sure everything's very mobile during those 2 weeks, and then you should be able to show up on race day fully refreshed, fully recovered, and still have all these huge power and pacing benefits that we've been working on for race day.
All right. So we are officially 1 week post Ironman race in Florida. Let's just tell us about our flight into Florida, how things went, what happened, all the good stuff.
Yeah, so we flew down to Panama City, Florida, about 5 days out. Flew in on a Tuesday. And the idea behind that was it's nice to get to your race location a few days ahead of time, get back on your diet from the travel, get a couple key sessions in, make sure all of your race day things made it there, make sure everything's lined up. Which funny thing behind that is we checked 3 bags on the way down here, one of them being my bike. And it's a hectic thing to travel with a bike to begin with, yet alone for a race and all these deadlines, things to that nature. But we got on the plane and everything. I checked my American Airlines app and bags made it on. Well, 2 of the 3 bags made it on. And I'm like, there's no way, they missed the bike. It's probably one of our other bags. So we're mid-flight, and the 3rd bag updated on the app, and it said loaded in Philly. I'm like, oh, okay, so it was loaded. And it said it was loaded at 7:15, and we took off at 6 a.m. So I'm like, okay, this bag is on a different plane. Rest assured, we landed in Charlotte. Bag did not make it in time for our flight to Panama City. We got to Panama City, and we got both of our clothing bags, and the bike was not there. So I was freaking out. I think Kim was freaking out more than I was. And I talked to some really awesome people at TSA, and they were happy to tell me that it was going to make it on the last flight to Panama City that same day. So fast forward a few hours, the bike did show up at the airport in Panama City around 4:15 p.m. So it came in. I was relieved. A couple pieces of the bike were damaged during travel. Nothing crazy. It was awesome. I actually found a mobile mechanic that was on site in Florida. His name was Isaac. He's from Race Ready. I found him on the Facebook group, and he was doing a couple other people's bikes. Literally came to my hotel, popped open the doors of his van. I was able to rebend my derailleur out, do a tune-up on my whole bike, which was incredible. So that was all good. That was all good. So then during race week, pretty much my assignments were to go through a few key sessions that week, mostly swimming, just to stay loose and to stay on top of what those paces feel like. A couple shakeout runs, and then 2 or 3 rides just to really make sure that my bike mechanically was dialed in. I mean, I knew I was good to go, but we had to just make sure from the travel that my race wheels were holding air, all those good things. So yeah, it was really easy. It was usually 1 or 2 20 or 30-minute sessions per day leading up to that, including 2 or 3 open water swims in the Gulf.
So how did you feel during the training sessions? Because I know, like during taper week, you were a little stressed and didn't feel yourself. You didn't feel right. You didn't feel ready. So how can you compare those feelings to actual race week with these training sessions?
Yeah, so I mean, I still felt like a little lethargic during these workouts, and I think that's just part of that tapering process. Your body's recovering, and I was probably holding a little bit more water and weight than I was used to the last 6 weeks, which I came in at 187 pounds for my race, which I really wanted to come in under 190 this year without really trying to diet and trying to lose the weight. The weight came off with me eating thousands of calories a day, which is a bit out of control. But overall, as the week progressed, I felt better towards the end of the week. Once I got out in the Gulf and swam the course a little bit more too, I felt ready. My body felt ready. I felt fast. I felt light. I felt power in my legs that I haven't felt in weeks because of the fatigue. So, I mean, overall, I felt good.
I know you touched a little bit on diet, but obviously we had to stick with a certain program in food. So how did you cope with that?
So I am damn proud of myself for what I did down there, because I don't even want to say this on camera because of Natasha knowing what I ate last year. Not that it matters. Last year before race day, I ate whatever the fuck I wanted that week. And that was a few sessions of pizza with Kenny and Kim and the rest of the people that were down there with us that week. I had ice cream a few days before. That was last year. So this year, I mean, I talk about it and Seth talks about it all the time on the podcast. We hate when our stomachs are messed up. I hate when I have to shit my pants, okay? That's in essence what we're talking about here. I like to stay regular. I like to use the bathroom once a day when I wake up, and I don't use it again the rest of the day because it's all emptied out. I feel good. I feel light. I don't feel thick in my stomach. I hate that feeling. So all week we really, really focused on chicken and rice, my morning routine, which was Dave's Killer Bread or Dave's Killer Bagel with peanut butter or cream cheese and honey, fresh fruit, my greens and vitamins every morning. Just staying on like an every 2 to 3 hours, just keeping carbs and protein in my system throughout the day. So I thought I did a really good job. We only ate out one time up until race day, and that was at this awesome local spot down there. They have banging fish tacos and killer chicken nachos. I'm actually excited about it right now. But overall, that was the goal. And then even leading into the day before and the night before race day, the focus was again the same thing. You know, everyone likes to carb up, which I essentially was. I was eating more carbs than I generally do 2 days before. But a lot of people like to dive into these big, heavy pasta meals, slam a whole pizza because of nutritionally what is in it, carbs and sodium, which we literally run on for these races. But I kept it super clean. I just doubled down on the carbs and the sodium, which again, that was to make sure my stomach, excuse me, I was making sure my stomach just felt okay on race morning. But I kind of wish I would have changed things a little bit on that. I'll touch on that later though.
All right, before we get to race morning, just give us a little recap on the weather we had in Florida before race day.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a beautiful week in Panama City Beach. It was a little chilly. I think leading up to that, the highs each day were 68, 70 degrees, lows in the low 50s, which is, I mean, it's the Sunshine State, right? That's why I chose this race. So it was chilly. The air was cooler than the water. So the water temp was 73, 74 degrees most of the week, which is perfect. You know, that you can't really ask for a better temp. It's still legal for a wetsuit, which we wanted because it's just more buoyant and it's just more beneficial to swim in a wetsuit, in my opinion. But weather was great, and we had a little bit of overcast and a little bit of rain Friday morning, which that kind of brought this cold front into town. So Friday we were looking at Saturday race day weather conditions, and we were looking at a high of 48 degrees at the race start. We started at 6 a.m. Water temp, I believe, was 67 on race morning, and with a high of, I think, 68 on the day, which didn't come till 1 or 2 p.m. So we had a very, very cold, we were predicting a very cold start to Saturday morning.
Yeah, it got a little cold there. All right, so race morning. Let's recap on race morning.
Yeah, so race morning, so it was, we knew it was going to be colder, so we had to make some adjustments on Friday. We had to we ran to Dick's Sporting Goods and a couple other stores to get, I had no cold weather gear for getting out of the water and getting on the bike. And about the worst thing that could happen to you is getting out of the water, getting on the bike, and being cold. Like, not just chilly, like not feeling your toes, your fingertips, especially coming out of that cold water into the cold air. So coach recommended I get like a long sleeve jacket, full fingertip gloves so my fingertips aren't cold, and then a thicker sock, which I usually don't even ride in socks. So the fact that I had to put a thicker sock on was bothering me a little bit. But these things were crucial. So race morning, had my normal breakfast. I had one Dave's Killer Bagel with cream cheese, 2 pieces of Dave's Killer Bread with peanut butter and honey, a whole banana, and about 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of electrolytes from the moment I woke up till I got to transition. We woke up around 3 a.m. Transition opened at 4:45 a.m. And the idea to get up so early is just to get my stomach moving, be able to use the bathroom, get ready stress-free, not show up with like no time to do anything. Last year we showed up to transition a little late, and I was struggling to get my wetsuit on before we got down to the beach. So I just wanted to have more time. I like being early for everything I do. It just allows you to kind of adapt if you have any issues. So I got down into transition. It was windy as fuck. It was super, super cold. I got everything ready for my bike, and then was going to gear up in transition and walk to the beach to wait for the swim start, which it was so cold that I knew it was going to be colder at the beach, so I stayed in transition as long as possible. I had my wetsuit on, 2 pairs of socks, hoodie, sweatpants, beanie, full fingertip gloves, and I then marched down to the beach where I met with Coach Natasha, Coach Kenny, my wife Kim, and the rest of my support crew, which was nice. Last year, they kind of, because of COVID, they marched us down like single file line, didn't allow anyone to get close to us on the beach. So this was really nice. Like, this is what Ironman is all about. It's about being around your people, your support crew, the whole time you're there. So made it down there. I stayed in those warm clothes about as long as I could. And you can only really stay in them long enough till like people start lining up to get in the water. I mean, at that point I can't have my hoodie and all my shit on. So took everything off, and I'm literally chattering, like shivering. And all I could hope was that the water was warmer than the air, just like the rest of the week, because you do get a sense of relief getting into warm water that is warmer than the air. Even if it is still pretty cold, you still get a sense of relief from the cold air. So we lined up. I lined up with the front pack of the swim group. That's where Coach wanted me to be. I would just rather chase some people that are faster than me than get run over. Likewise, I didn't want to get stuck in a pack, so I was like, let's go out with the top dogs and see what we can do. Swimming out, so we swam out around a pier twice, and going out was okay. Crossing, going parallel with the beach, we noticed how bad the rip currents and the rip tides really were. I'm talking like some scary, scary shit that would pull your average Joe out of that water. It pulled hundreds of elite swimmers out of the water that day. I think about 300 people DNF'd from the race just during the swim alone. While I was out there, I smelled gasoline from all the jet skis running around, pulling people out of the water. I saw a girl next to me in the water get pulled out onto the jet ski and taken back to shore. I saw people taking off their ankle bracelet that has your tracker in it. I saw them taking that off on the beach after their first lap. And I mean, I was scared shitless. And all I could think of was, all I thought about were the weaker swimmers, some of the women, and then some of the older racers that just, it was like a giant washing machine out there. You couldn't get air, you couldn't get clean water to swim in. It was really, really tough. So did one lap of that. I got up on the beach. You have to run across the beach to enter back in. I cramped up in my hamstring and my glute coming across the sand, and I think that's just cold air and fighting through the water, just getting taxed early. So got back in, swam the second lap, which was way worse. It was way worse by that time. Got out of the water, had about a quarter-mile run from the water's edge to my bike in transition, which went well, I thought, and had to get all this warm weather gear now on the bike. So what went from, in my opinion, would have been a 6-minute, 7-minute transition, ended up being like 15 minutes again. but I'm not too upset about that considering all the clothes I had to put on, shivering and trying to get those things on. So I was exiting transition to get on the bike, and I saw a coach, and she yelled over to me. So one like huge big thing of advice she gave me earlier this season was, when I get out of the water, don't check my time. Just save it on your watch and worry about it later, because at that point, your time, what you just did in the water, doesn't matter for the rest of your day. It's only going to make you emotionally upset if you didn't hit the numbers that you wanted to, because you have no idea if anyone else had a hard time with the swim like you did. So I didn't look at my watch, got on my bike, saw a coach, and she yelled over to me. She was like, hey, she's like, slow swim for everyone. Pros had a slow day. She's like, you had a good swim. So I was like, okay. I was like, everyone had this shitty day in the water. So in my eyes, I was like, okay, I'm back into competing. There's some people I can chase down. And we spoke about it. The bike was windy as fuck. We had headwinds going out probably the first 60 to 70 miles. But coach told me post-race, even when I saw her again on the course, that I had passed like 15 to 20 people in my age group within those first 5 miles on the bike. That top 20, when I got out of the water, was only 10 minutes ahead of me. And I was excited to get going then. Like it kind of really lit a fire inside, because I knew my bike was strong, and I knew I could probably chase down and get into, I mean, that top 40, top 30 in my age group, which I would have been thrilled about. The bike did not go as I wanted it to, and I'm contributing that to a few things. One, being super fatigued getting out of the water. Two, the strong headwinds were keeping me, put it in perspective. So I had to push around 200, 220, 240 watts to go 18, 19 miles per hour on the way out, right? On the way back in, when I had a tailwind, I was producing 160, 180, 190 watts, way less effort, to average 22, 23. I was even averaging 25 miles per hour for a few sections of the course. So the amount of effort that went into that first 70 miles was way, way more than I had anticipated. So fatigue getting out of the water, the headwinds, and then I think this is the real outlier to what made the bike difficult, and that is my lack of experience on the road in race conditions. I was not prepared to hand off. They have aid stations every 18 miles, and they hand off bottles to you, bottles of Gatorade or water, whatever you want. And I was not comfortable enough with grabbing these bottles of nutrition, switching them out on my bike. I have a hydration system up front that you have to fill with a bottle, and I was very uncomfortable doing these things. The wind contributed to that, but mostly me not practicing those things set me up for failure with those. So every aid station where I had to do these things and I was doing them very slow, a few times having to stop to fill these bottles up, that's when 10, 12, 15 people would pass me. Then I'd get back on the bike and, I'd get back on the bike and I'd catch them before the next aid station, and the same thing would happen. I'd have to fill my bottles again. They'd get ahead of me again, and I'd chase them down, which required a ton of effort. I caught them, and it happened viciously like this for the 112 miles on the bike. So I should be proud. I shaved a ton of time off my bike time from last year, I think over an hour,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I am very proud of. I'm just disappointed with it. I just am. I know what I'm capable of. Coach knows what I'm capable of. I was capable of a 5-hour bike ride for sure. I could have saved 45 minutes on that bike for sure. So what happened next? All right,
Had to get off the bike to run.
Had a marathon to do after that, which I was relieved. The run is my thing. I love running. I can get lost in it, and I know it's the one thing I can really grind if I feel really shitty. I didn't really feel awful all day. I didn't feel bad. I just felt behind. And the last 15 miles of the bike, I tried to get a little bit more ahead with my sodium, because that's always my biggest concern is cramping. And then I started with a bottle after I got off the bike, running with it just to kind of get that nutrition jump started, and felt great. Started out running a 7:30 per minute mile, which was my goal pace for the entire run. Held that for, I'd say, 3 or 4 miles. Felt good. And then just legs started to feel really, really tender. Like inside of my quads just felt crampy, which we don't use our quads to run. We use our hamstrings and our glutes, so it should not have been a big problem. But in the back of my head it was, because last year it's what stopped me in my tracks and made me walk. So the goal was to kind of walk-run the entire race, meaning I would run, we had an aid station every mile or every 1.5. So I would run to the aid station, walk through, get my Gatorade, get my water, pop some salt, right back into pace. So I was generally like averaging an 8:15 to 8:30 pace, which very happy with. That's a 3:45 to 3:50 marathon. But then that walking during those segments put you behind. So also had to use the bathroom. I think that was mile 16 or 17, somewhere in
12.
there.
12. It was 12.
Mile 12. So that I had a 15-minute mile there. It's not because I took forever in the bath. Well, it is because I took forever. I couldn't get out of my tri-suit. I couldn't get it over my shoulders. I'm still too strong.
Usually I help you get it on.
That's true. But my stomach wasn't even that upset, but it was enough that it was affecting my mind, and I couldn't get into a rhythm with my running. So I was like, I need to get this over with right now. Maybe I'll be able to make it up on the back half. And I'm glad I did it, because I came back out and I started averaging those lower pace miles again. And then I stayed on top of everything, stayed on top of my hydration consistently for the rest of the race. I just wanted to, at that point, I knew I was still shedding hours off my time. I didn't care about placing. I wanted to finish. I wanted to run through that finish line strong, which I did. I don't even remember it. I don't remember hearing it. All I remember is big lights on me and hundreds of people, which last year it was no one at the finish line, and you ran through into a dark, empty field. And it was a tough feeling last year. This, I felt like a superstar. I felt like I just won a Super Bowl, or I don't even know what to compare it to. It gets me emotional just thinking about it. It's what I work for all year.
So with each, obviously, swim, bike, run, there was an obstacle with everything. The conditions mainly was the big thing with each of them. But if you had to pick one thing that went through your mind that pushed you through each segment, swim, bike, and run, what was it that was going through your head at those times?
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same way I break down workouts, and I kind of compartmentalize them and break them down in a way that it makes sense in my head. It's like a little bit more manageable. So, with an Ironman, you have a swim, bike, and run. So 3 parts of your day. And in my head, I complete each one. So like swim is the shortest part of your day, but it's still a third of your day is done. So I get out of the water, I'm like, okay, 1 of 3 done. Then like you're on the bike, and then I break my bike down into segments, usually like halfway. So like I'll be like, all right, I got to get through 56 miles. Boom, done. Checked it off in my mind. Then I know I can probably push that second 56 a little bit harder and I'm going to get it done faster. Boom, bike is done. 2/3 of my day done. I got one thing left to do, and that's to run, which I love to do. So it's the same with my workouts, like having 8 or 12-minute intervals, like 6 of them. I just break them down one by one, and that's what it comes down to at the end of your race when you're running the marathon. You literally do 1 mile at a time. And if you can focus on that, I mean, 26 miles sounds like a lot, and it's a lot to like think about as you're just chipping away one by one. But each mile I had a different aid station with different people. I knew I'd see them again on the second lap, which I look forward to that because I'm like, oh, this is the one that has all the kids and they're all excited to like hand me a water cup. You know, so it's things like that. And I've had multiple people tell me this, but mostly my coaches, and they said like when things get really tough, just smile, because it takes less effort to smile than it does to like frown and look down and like look, defeated. So it's something people notice with me. So I want to always be that guy. I want to be like, man, he always finishes a race smiling, even though he feels like shit. So those are the things that drive me. Having my support team there. I mean, I had 20 people there. And if you think you can't feel their presence amongst hundreds of people, you can. Because there's some loud mouths on my wife's side of the family, which I love. I can hear them over everything. My coaches are the most savage athletes on the planet. They make sure they are seen and heard on course. And, God and my spiritual side is what really helped me finish this. And it's what helped me through all my tough workouts. It helps me through every part of my life.
All right. I don't know if we really touched on this with any of the previous videos, but I think you pretty much answered my question is, what is your why with doing all of this?
What is my why?
Yes.
Yeah, my why is a little bit complicated. I'm fortunate enough to have a very healthy family and group of friends. I've never really lost anyone close to me, thank God. So I'm not really driven in that way, shape, or form, like by like a lost loved one. But I train and I race as if I need to fight for everyone in my life. I do a lot of like visualization of things when I'm training, like crossing the finish line or running the bike course or running the run course, and like I can literally see myself doing these things, and when I let my mind just run, I start to like see certain people along the way. I start to see people at the finish line. And like that's in those like really dig deep moments that I feel that and I see those things. So like my why is, it's kind of like I'm fighting for my family, to keep them, to make them proud. Like I always want my parents to be there, and they weren't able to be there this year. Everyone knows when you run your own businesses. My dad owns his own business. My mom watches my nephew for my sister. That people have things going on. They can't just always drop what they have going on in their life to go and watch these things and do these things. But I still like have this like visual, like I have this dream of just seeing them all at the finish line, because usually I was asking my mom to write me a note to get out of the mile run at school, or having my dad be like, hey, can you call the coach? I don't want to go to practice today, things like that. So to see them, because I didn't grow up playing sports and having them there, be that proud parent in the crowd. So, I mean, that's a big part of my why. And all you guys. I mean, I was 300 fucking pounds 2 years ago, damn near close, and I felt stuck, and I felt like I was going to be that guy forever, like literally forever. And the worst part about it is I was okay with that. I enjoyed going to the bar a few nights a week with my wife and my friends. I enjoyed eating pizza. I enjoyed drinking beer, eating wings, smoking weed, and that's about it. Like, I needed to do those things as an outlet for, I just used it as an outlet, and I guess that's a bigger part of my why. I never want to be that guy again. And seeing how many of you have changed your life because I put a couple videos out on YouTube, and I lost 100+ pounds and ran 2 Ironman, and to see you guys getting started on these journeys and to realizing there's so much more out there when you're fit and you're healthy. I mean, that's the biggest reward. I'm already winning because of that.
So post-race, like, how did you feel? I remember specifically what was going on with you, but do you remember?
So I remember vividly crossing the finish line. I'll never forget it. And that's incredible because last year I don't remember. I was so out of it last year that I remembered very little about the race. This year I remembered everything about crossing that finish line. And then I forget everything that happened between crossing that finish line and getting into our room. And I can hear you biting your nails, so stop biting your nails. Damn fucking camera crew, can't find good ones anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got done, and I don't remember anything. I just remember seeing Kim. I remember seeing my family. I remember seeing Tony, my teammate, who waited for me, which I was so grateful for. And then my coaches, but I don't remember like what I said or what we did. From what I was told, I was slurring my words pretty bad, and I turned white as a ghost. My blood sugar just plummeted. And all I knew is I needed to get back to the room as soon as possible. One of 2 things was going to happen. I was either going to like pass out, or I really had to use the bathroom. So I thought that went away quickly. Just there's so many bodily things occurring when you completely come to a stop. But overall, I mean, I didn't feel like a complete train wreck. I just felt banged up. I felt sore. I needed sugar very, very badly. I needed something to drink that wasn't Gatorade Endurance and wasn't a gel pack or a banana, which I still can't even think about eating that shit yet. But overall, I mean, I thought I felt pretty good.
All right. So, how do you feel at this point now that your race is done? How's that affecting you right now?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. Literally a day later, I felt super, super depressed. Which I really kind of hid a little bit. I think Kim was well aware how I felt. But I was trying to not seem too down in the dumps because I shouldn't act that way in front of the support team that just helped me through the last year of my life. That's not right for them. That's disrespectful to them because they put in just as much work as I did to help me through this process. So I tried to keep that at bay a little bit, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I was thoroughly depressed 2 days after. And I think it's a pretty regular feeling. With something like this, you put so much time and effort into something for so long, and then you're at this all-time high. Like, it's this huge build up to this literal pinnacle of your year, and then it's all gone, like literally like that. And what my coaches, I asked them, how do I cope with this? Because I didn't want to act like this person in front of my family or in front of Kim, because I should be celebrating, what we just did together, which we did. We had a great couple days left in Florida. We had some great dinners with Pat and Mike, and then with her sisters and my family, and then we had some time with my family when we got back to Philadelphia. So, I mean, it was a great couple days, but I felt like unfulfilled each day until I was allowed to work out a little bit here and there, go on a walk, go on a nice easy swim. And I'm still like in that mode right now because I'm doing these little like recovery workouts, and it's not what I need. So post-race like depression and the blues is a real thing. And how did I cope? I just tried to celebrate our win as a group as much as I could, really soak in all the effort that I put in, and I'm proud of it. It's not that I'm not proud. It was just a big adjustment going from 100 miles per hour to 0, literally overnight.
All right. So what's next, Bobby? What is next? I don't know if I want to know.
So I have a lot on my mind. So I feel like I was in the proper shape for this race, but because of conditions and my lack of experience on the road or in race conditions, it did not allow me to truly throw down the time I wanted. And I want to throw down a time that is going to qualify me for a spot at World Championships. That's my ultimate goal right now in this sport. I want to qualify for World Championships, whether that's a 70.3 or a 140.6. That's my ultimate goal. And just briefly talking to my coaches, for 2022 to help achieve this goal is literally just racing more, getting more race experience. So I'm planning as of right now 3 races for sure. One of them being April 3rd in Galveston, Texas. I'll be doing the 70.3 there. And a second race might be the Ohio 70.3 in July. And then the goal would to be end the year at Ironman Arizona in November. So 2 70.3s, a full 140.6, and then some shorter distance run races, or like a sprint or an Olympic distance triathlon thrown somewhere over the course of that time. But more race experience, and I mean, I'd be lying if my goal in my head is to... Does that make sense? I want to qualify for World Championships in Galveston. That I would really like that. It's a nice flat course. I'll have dozens of teammates there racing the course with me. My coaches will be there. My wife will be there again. I've never done a 70.3, but based on my training and my workouts, I can throw down for 56 miles. I can throw down for a 13.1, and I feel like it might be my best chance at coming closer to that goal. For those that don't know, my age group is 30 to 34, and it's one of the most competitive age groups in all of Ironman. And I think the main reason is just because it's where the bulk of the competitors are. There's just so many people. Like you look at 18 to 24, I think is the other age group. There's almost no one in those age groups. And it's because I think these young people just do not, one, have the time and experience in the training, and two, you have to be financially sound to compete in this sport. It is not cheap. Between $300 to $700 entry fees, $1,000 to $15,000 bikes, going through running shoes every month, all the gear, the tri-kits, the water bottles, the supplements. It is very, very expensive. It is not a realistic sport for most to get into. So my goal over the next, let's see how many months, January, February, March, April, 5-6 months, is to have somewhat of an off season, get stronger in some of my weaker spots, travel to some like warm climate areas to do more training at, because we know Pittsburgh winter is here and it's not going anywhere until early spring. So some outdoor bike rides when the weather is fair here. I will be going to Texas to train down there as well, and just keeping everything sharp, because I love this shit. You could say questionably, even some of the pros said, hardest swim conditions of their pro career was this past Saturday. And it was not enough to scare me away yet. So my goal is to stay healthy, get stronger, get more experienced, and keep doing this for all the right reasons. As soon as the reasons are not what I want them to be, I'll be done with this sport. But until then, I'm gonna keep giving it hell, at least as long as my wife can put up with me, which I think is a while. She's gonna do her first next year, and she'll understand why I go as hard as I do. But yeah.
So before we wrap up,
Yeah.
all the things that you mentioned about the financial side of this, if there's one tip that you had to give somebody that wants to get into triathlon training, swim, bike, and run, what would be that one piece of advice you'd like to give to them that are getting started?
Just don't overcomplicate it with the data. I'm guilty of this, like tracking data, like using the watch, like these things that are there, they're amazing. Can track your progress, your pacing, your heart rate, which is so vital. However, when you're just starting, this should be based on feel. You should go out and do your runs and your swims and your bikes based on feel. Like this, if you're just getting started, you cannot expect to make leaps and bounds. But rather than short little wins. For instance, when I started, I did not start with all three. I started running. I ran for months. I ran for 3 months before I started biking or swimming. So like get on your feet first. Start running. It's probably the cheapest of the three to get involved with. Go buy a decent pair of running shoes and something that you're not going to chafe in, and get outside or get on your treadmill in your basement or do it at the gym. Number 2, getting in the pool. Get in the pool as soon as possible. It's the most uncomfortable thing you will ever do. And usually your gym has a pool. It's already part of your membership. Or you can join like a YMCA or somewhere close to your house that it should not be more than $30 or $40 a month. So get in the water, and then from a bike tip, I mean, don't start out with anything crazy. I've seen people on course finish this with a fixed gear bike. I've seen them complete them on mountain bikes. I've seen they just have pedals with cages on them. You know, you slide your sneaker in. Like, I've seen that on course, and they finish these races. It's not ideal, but do not think you need to go spend $5,000 on a fucking bike to go complete an Ironman. you don't. And if you want to keep things a little bit more manageable for you from like a success perspective, don't jump into a 140.6 out of the gate. What I did last year is very, very unrealistic, especially for someone that maybe needs to lose a bunch of weight, or has never been physically active in your life. Choose a sprint distance, choose an Olympic distance triathlon to get in. A lot of your local counties and cities have these things going on. And, you know, some of them take 1 to 2 hours to complete, not 7 to 17 hours. So, you know, don't overcomplicate it. Don't stress yourself out. This isn't a once and done thing and you're going to be in shape for the rest of your life. This is a lifestyle change. You need to do it for you. And guess what? You might find out real quick you do not like this sport. I really wanted to be a bodybuilder. I was not good at it. I did not enjoy the training, even though I wanted to look a certain way. It was not for me. So I guess that's my biggest advice. Find something that you love and double down on it. If it's running, double down on it. If it's rowing, if it's CrossFit, try all things, and one day one of them is going to click and you double down on it.
Very good.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, well, just to wrap it up, guys, I love you so much. Thank you all so, so much for all the support. I literally received thousands, like tens of thousands of messages on Instagram, on Facebook, texts, emails. No one wrote me any letters, which I was a little upset about. You know, there's just nothing like a nice handwritten letter. Kim's looking at me like, what the fuck
Can't have
are
it
you
all.
talking about? But thank you for the support. I will try to get better with documenting more content. Now that we're in the off season, it should allow for that. And I know you've been all asking for a car vlog. It's coming. I got a lot of new things to show you too on that end. So thanks again. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok now as well. Mustache Rides on TikTok. Go follow me. Love you guys.